Hello everyone, it's Steve with Aptera Owners Club. I want to talk a little bit about EV fires today, mainly because a few days ago my father-in-law um, told me that he saw some news stories about, fires and from EVs and parking garages and things like that, and how it was a huge problem. And he knows that I have an EV, two EVs, and a lot of electric bikes in my garage, and he was, concerned for our safety, which is good. So I wanted to kind of look into it, and I've seen these stories too, and I'm sure you guys have seen these stories too. There's these stories of electric vehicles catching fire in a parking garage while charging. The EV catches fire in Mountain View parking lot. Blaze spreads to three other cars. Residents displaced after fire that began near electric vehicle damages garage and home in Hawthorne Woods. Chevy Equinox EV catches fire while driving down on major highway. EV fires on container ships spark issuer concerns. And then, you see things like this. So you see like a car carrier. That was pretty impressive, with Teslas burning on there. This was just like a few days ago. So we see these things all the time. Now, to be clear, Tesla clarifies that LA car carrier fire started on the diesel, not EV battery. So this one, it appears that the semi truck itself caught on fire, and then that caught the Teslas on fire. So I was like, maybe EVs are a little bit more dangerous than gas cars, but I was kind of willing to say that that's a rare event anyway, so I wasn't too worried. But after, talking to my father-in-law, I was like, I should kind of look it up and see what the actual risk is. So I looked at it, and the actual risk is actually lower, which you would not think. If you look at it, the uh, risk of a gas-powered car catching on fire is much, much higher than the risk of an EV catching on fire. So let's look at this. Let's see the numbers here. Okay, so found that there were 68 fires per 100,000 cars of all types, but just 3.8 fires per 100,000 EVs or hybrids. Now, if you stratify hybrids and EVs separately, you'll notice a totally different story as well, which was surprising to me actually. So if you look at this, you so it looks like there's a lot of EV fires, but it's because almost every EV fire is reported by the media, and gas car fires are not reported by the media because they're so common. If you look at this, they say that on average, there's 215,096 vehicle fires per year. That's a lot of fires. And the vast majority of them are gas car fires. If you look at this, in the world since 2010, there have been 511 verified battery fires from electric vehicles. But it seems like there's a lot of fires because almost every one of these 511 incidents are reported in the news because they're newsworthy. They don't report all 200,000 gas car fires per year, but they do report the 511 fires in the last like 14 years. So if you look at the actual rate, the rate is this. For gas vehicles, there's 1,530 fires per 100,000 cars sold. For EVs, there's been 25 fires per 100,000 cars sold. And this was just surprising to me. Hybrid cars, 3,475 fires per 100,000 vehicles sold. So if you're worried about fire risk, hybrids are the highest fire risk. They're almost 3 times higher. Between 2 and 3 times higher than a gas vehicle. And a gas vehicle is like 50 times more likely to get into a fire than an EV. And if you think about it, that just makes sense because a gas vehicle is basically on fire. Like the engine runs by burning fuel and by exploding the fuel in the cylinder. So the way that the gas vehicle can burn is by just losing containment of its fire, and it has like a fire like fuel, 10 to like 30 gallons of fuel in the vehicle. Whereas an EV does never has a fire, but it does have a giant battery pack that uh, that if you ignite it, it can catch fire. But there is no active fire when it's running. It doesn't have a fire. So the if you look at fires and compare the two, there are differences. So the main difference is that when you have an gas fire, they usually burn up very quickly, and once you put it out, it's not going to restart. Whereas a battery fire, it burns slowly for a long time, and even after you put it out, because the battery is damaged, it could restart. It could restart the fire, and then the fumes of an ice fire obviously aren't good for you. They're like carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and a bunch of hydrocarbons. They're not good for you, but they're not as toxic as the fire gases from an EV fire. So for firefighters, the gases and stuff from a EV fire are going to be much more toxic than from a gasoline fire, and they have to be careful with reignition risks, and the way that they fight these fires is going to be different than the way that they fight gas fires. But overall, the rate of fires is significantly less. It's not even close. It's not like half. It's not like 10%. It's 50 times less. It's like less than 1%. It's like 1%. I mean, it's 2%. It's 2% of a gas fire. So it's significantly less, way less. It's not even in the same ballpark. So if you look at this and you look at where this is a really cool site called EV Fire Safe. If you look at it, this is a site mainly for firefighters to deal with it. Most of the causes are unknown, and then the second leading cause is like collision and debris. Then OEM battery faults. That's why I remember the bolts had to be recalled and stuff. The next is submersion underwater, repair, arson, malicious external fire, and overheating. Most of it is they haven't figured out. And then where is it? The looks like the majority are while it's parked, so either inside or outside, and about a third of it is while it's driving. And then of the fire incidents that occurred while they were connected, most of them are happen while it's actually energizing. No one's been electrocuted. No emergency responders have been electrocuted by a fire, even when they have like if you there was some concern that if you like spray water directly, maybe you would conduct up the water hose and electrocute people, or if the car was underwater and on fire or in water on fire, that would cause electrocution. That doesn't happen. So the electrocution has not been an issue for these things. Anyway, I hope that was interesting for you guys because it was to me. I kind of assumed because of all the news stories that EVs were a little bit higher fire risk than gas cars, but that is absolutely not the case, not even remotely true. And what was surprising is that hybrid vehicles do have a higher rate of fire than even gas vehicles. Um, and it's more than 100 times higher than a straight EV vehicle, which I'm not too sure what the reason for that is, but that is the case. Now, what is absolutely true is that electric bicycles, and I have quite a few of them, they are higher risk for fires. Those batteries are not as well regulated and as well tested as the batteries in EVs. And so they are slightly higher risk of having a battery fire. And I have indeed had a battery fire when I had my this was not a commercial electric vehicle. I made an electric vehicle out of a kit, and I used a lithium polymer battery from those are used in RC helicopters. I use that to power it, and I've had one of those lithium polymer batteries, which are extremely volatile. Lithium polymer batteries are way more volatile than anything else, any other kind of lithium ion battery. And I have had one of those explode and start a fire in my garage. Luckily, someone was home when that happened. They were able to put it out with our fire extinguisher, but that did happen. Now, and then EV fire risks are going to continue to go down. As we know, lithium iron phosphate batteries, which are becoming more popular, are less likely to have thermal runaway than the NCM batteries that are the most common now. And then also we're getting solid state batteries and sodium batteries, which are also much safer as well. Okay, so hopefully that was interesting, you guys. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.